So I saw the Minecraft movie this weekend. It was way better than I expected. Excellent performance from Jack Black, obviously, of course. What a legend. It had the song from Cocaine Bear in it. Absolute cinema. Let's see. I finished Andor Season 2. That was good. Oh, I saw Now You See Me 1 and 2 for the first time. Those were great. I saw The Accountant 1 and 2. Those were good. What was I talking about? Oh, right, chat. The How to Train Your Dragon movie was amazing. I saw it in theaters a few days ago, and to say I was pleasantly surprised would be an understatement. I was completely blown away. I haven't been following this movie's production very closely for a myriad of reasons, so I really knew nothing about it aside from what I'd seen in memes and stuff, and I didn't even get to IMDb the cast before watching it, so all I really knew was that Nico Parker was playing Astrid. I think this was a really good thing, honestly, coming into it without any prior knowledge, because I had nothing to set my expectations low, and even if I did, those expectations would have been shattered. This movie was incredible. I remember watching the original How to Train Your Dragon as a child. I remember distinctly because we were watching it at one of those movies in the park events, and I chewed through an entire glow stick while watching it. I haven't read the How to Train Your Dragon books, so I don't know if any of the changes were made to better align with the story of the books rather than the 2010 film. If you have seen the books, let me know how they are and how they compare in the comments. Quick disclaimer, this will contain spoilers indiscriminately. Go watch the 2010 movie, then the 2025 one, then the 2010 one again, then come watch this video if you don't want to be spoiled. I'm going to be referring to the films as the 2010 film to talk about the animated one and the 2025 film to talk about the live action one, just to make it easier to discuss and for a reason that I'm going to get into later. Also, final disclaimer, this is all my opinion, and if you disagree, great. I'd love to hear your thoughts and why you think the way you do in the comments, but please don't argue with me or call me stupid or something, because that's me. Without further ado, my name is Chickn16, and let's take a look at the plot and story of How to Train Your Dragon 2025. So the plot is basically the same between these two movies. Some stuff is added, some stuff is lost. Pretty standard live action adaptation stuff. To be honest, I really liked most of the additions. I liked the extra character that was given to Astrid, how she wasn't originally from Berk, and it gave a lot more context to how invested she was in the war against dragons. It made her beef with Hiccup really dynamic and interesting. Nico Parker gave an incredible performance and was so compelling. Stoic was also so strong. I didn't realize until after that Gerald Butler was the original voice of Stoic, and the whole time I was like, dang, this guy is so talented. He's got the voice down completely. Of course he does. It's the same dude. Genius casting move. I loved what they did with Roughnut. I thought her whole vibe was hilarious and very in character. Mason Thames as Hiccup is alright. Not a bad choice at all. One of the really interesting things that was added was making Berk a colony where people go specifically to battle dragons, a community of warriors and people who've had their homes ravaged by dragons. I really liked this change. It added a ton of intensity to the conflict, which was cool. Some stuff that was added that I didn't like, and I know this is controversial, Snotlout's daddy issues. Like, yeah, Snotlout wants his father's approval, and Spitelout is harsh, but nowhere near as, Dad, notice me, look, Dad, I did something, as in the live-action movie. Snotlout is such a funny character because he's so sassy and so stupid, and he's just at 100% all of the time. 10 out of 10 characterization, and I feel like the 2025 film tried some new things for him, but it just didn't land with me. And those are the additions. There was some stuff omitted, like the incredible Fishbone line. It was sad, but I completely get why they did it from a directorial perspective. There is no way for Mason Thames to deliver the line with the same absolute sass that Jay Baruchel did. There's a couple of iconic lines that were dropped, and I'm assuming it's all for this reason. However, and you've probably seen this already, there were two scenes that were omitted that were actually important. First, when Stoic tells Gobber to train Hiccup. In the 2010 film, Stoic is talking about what it means to be a Viking and delivers the iconic line, the rock split in two. In this whole scene, it's one of my favorites. It shows the audience who Stoic is and why he's chief. This scene was changed, and I feel like it took a lot of Stoic's more aggressive characterization out and a lot of the wow factor about what it means to fight dragons. And second, after the test drive scene in the 2010 film, Hiccup and Toothless end up on a tiny island eating fish and being pestered by terrible terrors. Here he realizes two things. One, everything we knew about you is wrong, and two, that dragons are not fireproof on the inside. This scene, aside from being a cute moment, provides crucial information that's used to defeat the Red Death at the end of the film, and also outright states what How to Train Your Dragon is about. Yes, it isn't a huge issue that this scene is dropped, but it feels like something is missing. And that's it! The integrity of the story, and How to Train Your Dragon has such a good story, is intact. Director Dean DeBlois did an amazing job transforming this film. It was entertaining and intense, exciting, funny, and visually beautiful. There are so many scenes that just feel lifted from the 2010 film, and it is a statement to the pre-production this film had that they were able to find and create these real locations that look just as distinct as the animated ones. While we're talking about the art direction of the film, I gotta talk about the costumes. Oh my goodness! The costume designer, Lindsay Pugh, knocked it out of the park. You could see the inspiration taken from the 2010 film, but still distinct and beautifully created. The characters of the 2010 How to Train Your Dragon film are a true testament to good character design, and the costume work in the 2025 film does a lot to maintain the silhouettes of each. I love that the chonky calf boot things are still there. Iconic, incredible. However, where the production design failed, in my opinion, was in the hair and makeup departments. In the 2010 film, none of the characters fit quote-unquote conventional beauty standards. They're hairy, they have bad posture, they've got janky teeth, they're wrinkly, they're covered in dirt and scars, they're Vikings. You look at them and believe they have been in battle all their lives. Even the main characters like Hiccup and Astrid, who are more conventionally attractive, are beyond greasy. It's these physical traits that make these masterful characters' designs they are. Everyone is way too pretty in the 2025 film, and it's so immersion-breaking. It makes the beautiful sets, costumes, and incredible acting just feel like Halloween costumes in a TikTok. And it lowers the production value so much. And it literally wouldn't even be that hard to change, just give them some dirt on their face, or eye bags, or make their teeth yellow. This is most visible on Gobber, one of my favorite characters in the 2010 film and my outright least favorite in the 2025 film, and like, I get it. You cannot put cartoon proportions on a person's face, that doesn't work. But you could have at least given him an eyebrow. I don't know. I feel like he had the weakest acting and weakest performance and weakest costume in the 2025 film. I'm gonna take a brief detour to talk about 2012's The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. Ah! I love The Hobbit! What was that? Must have been the wind. Anyways, look at the costumes and makeup work on the dwarves and hobbits. Weta Workshops did so much. All of the actors are wearing prosthetic noses or ears, have false eyebrows, beards, mustaches, and crazy wigs. You believe these characters are dwarves. Now, imagine you took Richard Armitage, the actor of Thorin, and stuck him in the dwarf costume without the makeup and beard. You don't believe it, do you? The dwarves and Vikings are very similar, and I feel like we're watching Richard Armitage's and not Thorin's, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Now to talk about Astrid's hair. It's fine that she isn't blonde, you're just picky. I do wish they had given her one braid instead of two. She looks a bit like the twins in my opinion, but I digress. They redesigned the dragons, which I don't mind, but I have some thoughts on Toothless. He is nowhere near as expressive as he is in the 2010 film, and because of that, so much of his character is missing. I watched the original like 2 days after watching the live action, and he's just so much more alive in the animated one. My roommate, who is a huge How to Train Your Dragon fanatic, said that he feels more like a horse, which perfectly summarizes the difference between the Toothlesses in these films. And it's kind of sad, honestly, considering that Toothless is the dragon. Right, I'm back now. We're gonna talk about live-action adaptations as a genre? I'm not even sure what to call it. It's pretty common for movies to get remade and retold as better filmmaking techniques become common, and something we see a lot is older animated films being adapted into live-action films. Disney has been a major perpetrator for this, obviously. While technically they made the 101 Dalmatians live-action film, the trend of live-action remakes and retellings was really kicked off in 2014 with Maleficent. This movie is amazing because it has almost nothing from the original Sleeping Beauty in it. It completely retells the story and it does it wonderfully. Then 2015 Cinderella came to theaters as a more direct adaptation of the original, and if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. I cannot recommend it enough. This film is beautiful and has so much soul. I haven't seen Maleficent in probably 5 or 6 years, but I just watched Cinderella a few months ago. Just my preference in story, but both these films set out to bring the more quote-unquote archaic animated films to audiences in this century. Nothing is wrong with the originals at all, and while I haven't watched them in ages, I'm more than confident they hold up. Audiences are seeing two types of live-action versions of animated films. The first is the adaptation. Obviously, this aims to adapt the animated film to a live-action medium. 2025's How to Train Your Dragon falls into this category along with titles like 2017's Beauty and the Beast, 2019's Aladdin, and The Lion King, and others. This is a direct or nearly direct translation of those animated films to live action, oftentimes featuring the same music, scenes, and jokes that are present in the original, and this is what we are most commonly seeing in theaters today. The other category is live-action retelling, and this is more nuanced and takes the character's story or concepts from the original animated film and changes them in order to create something that only resembles the original, but is something else entirely. Examples of this are Cinderella and Maleficent, as mentioned, as well as 2010's Alice in Wonderland. I'm forgetting movies for both categories, but I genuinely don't feel like IMDbing the Disney live actions for that long. So, 2025's How to Train Your Dragon is DreamWorks' first live-action adaptation. Here's the thing. The original How to Train Your Dragon came out 15 years ago, which isn't that long, and it isn't like 2010's How to Train Your Dragon is poorly animated. The animation is beautiful and bleeding edge today. So why did they make this movie? That's a rhetorical question, I'm not answering it. Instead, I want to talk about something that I see quite a bit when people discuss live-action versions of animated films. Whether they realize it or not, many people consider animation to be a quote-unquote lesser medium, and they believe it's easier or less genuine than a film with actors and a camera, and honestly, this pisses me off because it could not be more wrong. I go to art college, and my school has an incredible animation program. My boyfriend is an animator, my roommate is an animator, a lot of my friends are animators. I'm a film major. I bring this up because I know very little about animation. I listen to these people talk and I genuinely understand more about music theory and rocket science. I say this with full and utter confidence, filming a movie is easier than animating a movie, and yet so many film critics, when discussing live-action versions of animated films, completely discredit the work, passion, and time that goes into an animation, especially compared to the live-action counterparts. I've heard people call adaptations and retellings quote-unquote real movies, and it's so gross. If you think this way or have a mindset like this, I implore you, please go talk to an animator and try to understand their craft. The point I make is this. 2010's How to Train Your Dragon is better than the 2025 version. I really like the 2025 version, and I had an amazing time while watching it. I'm sure I'll watch it again. The 2025 How to Train Your Dragon is really, really good. But everything in the 2010 How to Train Your Dragon is better. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in seeing more like it, consider subscribing. I had a lot of fun while making it. I'm looking forward to doing more like this in the future. Thank you for watching.